Good morning from my old Kentucky home. It is cloudy and we may get some rain today, and that's okay with me because I'm not going to be outside anyway, except to do a little running around. Listen, I know that everyone is excited about that my sub count got up to 1,000 yesterday. Listen, it was so exciting. I just couldn't hardly contain myself. And yes, I do have some big news. But first of all, I want to show you. Now, this was at my time yesterday at 12:39. I don't know why I thought to do this, but I made a picture of the analytic page that shows how many subscribers you have for sure and how many watch hours you have. And you know us YouTube creators, we're all into the numbers. So at 12:39 yesterday, I had 998 subscribers. And I mean, I can't tell you, this is the most excited I've been in a long time, so that tells you how exciting my life is. All right, that was 12:39. At 12:49, 10 minutes later, I had 999. That was really exciting. And then I thought, I'm just not going to look for a little bit. I'm just not going to look. So at 1:18, I had 1,000. And I just can't thank you guys enough, because I think there was there was a lot of us that were excited about that. Why? I don't know. It's not going to mean that I'm going to start getting paid or anything, but it's just one of those rungs on the ladder of the YouTube ladder that we are climbing day by day. Also, I thought it was, when I first started watching YouTube, which was just like December or January, and people would say, you got to have 1,000 subscribers to be able to be monetized, and 4,000 watch hours. Now that's pretty hard to get for a lot of people, is the 4,000 watch hours. And if I understand it correctly, that has to be done within 365 days. And if you don't get it then, I'm not sure. Don't ask me. I am no expert on that. You'll have to ask Rob the Maritimer or Old Me Living Better or Kevin Colby or some of these geniuses. You know how many watch hours I've got? 6,400. So I got the watch hours before I even got the subs. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I want to thank every one of you all that subscribed, and the comments. I'm loving the comments, so just keep on. Even give me a little heart or a thumbs up, that helps. And we are playing a game here. We are climbing that ladder to success. Now, I know that the big news you would like to know is, did I tell my husband? Well, the answer to that question is yes, I did. Now, before I tell you his response, let's remember that when people talk, they use a certain tone to their voice. Like I could say, good morning, or I could say, good morning, or I could say, good morning. Our tone of voice is so important. And if you are texting with someone, which I often do, and I have such a dry sense of humor, but Cynthia gets it, Grandma Lois gets it, Tracy gets it. I have a dry sense of humor. So many times when I am texting something, I don't want people to take it the wrong way. You have to think, I'm not going to say anything insulting to you. I'm not going to write you an insulting text. So you have to think, well, that's her dry sense of humor. But when we text, we can't recognize that tone. We don't know the tone of the voice. And so many times my girl and I have discussed this. She'll say, well, so-and-so texted me this. What do you think about this? And I said, well, it depends on the tone. And you don't know what the tone is when someone is texting you. All right. Speaking of tone, keep that in mind. Also remember that my husband does not get excited about anything. And I love this fella. But I tell you, he's the king of unfun. He can't help it. It's too late to change him now. So I said to him, I started the story by telling him that in December or January that I started watching some YouTube videos. Have you ever watched YouTube videos? I asked him. No. Okay, now remember, we're talking to someone who has not watched YouTube, period. He watches Facebook Reels, which I think sort of is comparable to the shorts that we do on YouTube. I'm not sure. It might be longer. I'm not sure. But he watches those a lot and loves them. You know, that's one when I could be sitting over there and he's got the TV blaring and then he's got a chainsaw on a reel that he's watching. So remember, he doesn't know anything about YouTube. So I proceeded to try to ease into the story by telling him, you know, about YouTube. And then I had started watching videos of these people talking about how to start a YouTube channel. And I thought, I might be interested in doing that. And I might eventually make a little money off of it. Now, he still is not really comprehending what I am telling him. This is how I'm leading into, I just got 1,000 subs. So then I proceeded to tell him that in order to make money, you have to have 1,000 people sign up that would like to watch your channel. And then you've got to have 4,000 watch hours. Now, how do you think anybody would take that has no idea what a YouTube channel consists of? Just keep all that in mind as I'm telling the story. And then I said, well, wait a minute, let me say this. When I started telling him the story, I had him to pause the TV so he could focus on me, which he did. And I said, so I have started a YouTube channel. And I have 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours. Plus, I probably said another little thing or two. And he looked at me and he said, good for you. Now, he could have said, good for you. Or he could have said, good for you. But he said, good for you. And then he pressed the play button on the remote. So I am so sorry to disappoint you, but are you surprised? And I laughed to myself thinking, par for the course. He didn't disappoint. He did as he always does, and discussion is over. So now, you know what we have to do now? Now that you've got to that point, to 1,000, you want to go further and further and further and further. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not a bit surprised. And you probably are not either. I've never heard him say, good for you, you know, and be excited about something. So we'll see. I did say, what do you think about it? And that's when he said, good for you. Good for you. This morning, I looked just a few minutes ago and I had 1,019 subscribers. So that's exciting. Now, let's get on with the rat killing. I had a few things jotted down here I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, and I know that you are, but on a sad note, all this flooding in Texas and New Mexico now, please, let's all remember them in prayer. Just the pictures, the devastation, the lives that's lost. It's so sad. And we think, why? Well, in the Bible, you know, it talks about at the end of times, all these things that's going to happen. And is it getting people's attention? I'm not sure. I don't know. So many sad things. Next, those were the two housekeeping chores. No, I've got some more housekeeping chores, I think. Does anybody know Lily Isaacs? If you ever heard of the gospel group, the Isaacs, she is the mother. And she's probably around my age, or she's in her 70s. She got scammed $10,000 just in the last few weeks. And I wanted to talk about that for just a minute, just to warn anybody, because I'm as gullible as the next person, and it could happen to any of us. But she got an email from PayPal. That's what it started out as. And I saw this yesterday on Mark Lowry's channel. And some of you, I think, watch that. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but somebody called her, and of course it was a foreigner, and scammed her out of $10,000 within just maybe a few hours, enough that that her children did not even know it. And then they started calling and threatening her life. So see, it goes from people scamming money out of you to threatening you, or threatening your family's life. And her daughter showed the page that she had printed off of her mom's email. And it looks so legitimate from PayPal. It's an email from PayPal saying, something about her account. And I guess she called them because, it alarmed her, thinking, oh, I owe such and such. PayPal will never send you an email. And even sometimes when I get stuff from Amazon on email, I'm leery of it. And I'm always anymore getting emails that are saying, for this, a purchase of such and such. I don't even open them because I know that I've not ordered anything from whoever that is. But I'm telling you to be very cautious. And if you get anything from PayPal, and they'll want to know your password and all this stuff, and they can get your banking information and get in there and empty your bank account. And there's not one thing you can do about it, because it seems like they can never catch these people in foreign countries. They're just so smart about doing this. But Mark Lowry is starting a GoFund page for Lily Isaacs to get back that money, which that's fine if he wants to do that, because I think of all those Gaither people, all of the religious singers, they could put in $500 a piece and make that money back in a snap. So to me being the little person here, I don't feel obligated to donate to that. Now, I do donate to a lot of things. Well, not a lot of things, but what I think is necessary. But something like that I don't, because I'd say she lives a more luxurious life than you or me do. But anyway, my warning is watch for scams. They're just everywhere. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you, do you know Billy Strings? Anybody ever heard that name? He is a bluegrass, I want to say sensation, but he's just a young guy. And I've been watching some of his videos on YouTube. Now, I like bluegrass. It's not my favorite. My favorite music is Motown. If you don't like Motown, you're not born in my era. Sorry. I love Motown. All right, Billy Strings. He was playing hard rock or metal, and he said he was driving down the road, and I forgot what the song was that came on. I don't know if it was Rank Stranger or something. He said, I pulled over at the side of the road, turned my car off, and just listened. It was a bluegrass song, and he thought, what am I doing playing this hard rock when bluegrass, I mean, you talk about talent. Those people have talent. Kenny and Amanda Smith, I think, they play gospel. Now, Billy Strings does a little bit of gospel, but he does just, bluegrass music. If you have not watched him, look on YouTube for Billy Strings, and he's got these four guys that play with him, and I just can't imagine the talent those guys have. And they sing Rank Stranger. If you've never heard of that song, it's a religious song. I love that song. Look that up, Billy Strings, Rank Stranger. Great song. And then he just sings a lot of good songs. But anyway, it's why I had brought him up, is that I saw this somebody had written, not a big fan of Billy Strings, but would listen to him pluck a chicken. I thought that was so cute. They would listen to him pluck a chicken. Listen, I do miss having a garden, but I sure don't miss getting in the garden. I've done that, never want to do it again. But my brother-in-law and his neighbor who mows our yard brought us a 5-gallon bucket of potatoes this week. And I want to show them to you. And this is just the little ones. They're these little red ones. I washed them off just a little bit because they're really dirty. But, I mean, they need to be washed off more. But I just wanted to show them to you. 5-gallon bucket. That's a lot of potatoes. And some of them are that big around. And then they're just different sizes. My mom used to dig her potatoes. And she would, poor little mom, my dad, he didn't do gardens. That's probably what I get out of this. I get mine from. She would even pick the little tiny ones and fry them in a skillet. And they were delicious. We loved them. But can you imagine when you're digging potatoes in the hot weather and you're graveling those potatoes, digging them, and then she would pick those little bitty ones up and fry them for us in a skillet, and they were so good. Anybody got any memories of potatoes? Now, we have never grown these red potatoes. We usually have the white ones. But these are good. I shredded some the other day, like hash browns, because I knew my husband could eat those easily if I didn't cook them real crispy. Then yesterday, we have a farmer's market here in our county, and they set up at this one place on Tuesdays, Thursdays, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or something like that. So, yesterday morning, I thought, I'm going to stop there and get us some tomatoes. Because, I showed you my tomatoes the other day. They're just, those 3 plants have got like 3 tomatoes on them. But hopefully they'll have more. And hopefully I'll have some little tomatoes later. It just seems like they're just course, I don't baby them and take care of them like I should. But I stopped to get some tomatoes. I was so disappointed. This woman had 2 boxes. One of them, they were solid green, which Grandma Lois would have jumped in there and grabbed them up to go fry them. But I'm not much on the green tomatoes. And you know what? I don't know that I've actually ever eaten a fried green tomato. That just doesn't sound good to me. But she had another box of, they weren't very big, and a lot of them mainly were green, and I picked out the ripest ones. I want to show them to you. Here's a little red one. Now this is about the way I like them. Firm and not real ripe. I like that. So I'm going to eat that today. Here's the other red one. It's a little bit greener, which will be all right because it'll ripen up some. And then I got 2 little yellow ones. And I fixed one yesterday for my husband. He ate it and he said it was really good. Now I want you to guess. Now remember these 3, I had 4 little tomatoes. Guess how much those were? $2.50 a piece. But I don't care. My husband loves good ripe tomatoes. Now he likes them just nearly to the point of mush, which see, there we are again, opposite, because I like them nice and firm. Now another little thing. Oh, let me tell you what I fixed for lunch yesterday. I took some of those little red potatoes and washed them real good and just sliced them pretty thin, put them in the skillet with a little bacon grease, put a lid on them and got them tender so that my husband could eat those easily. Opened up a can of Lux pinto beans, can't beat that. Made a big pan of cornbread and I put bacon grease in the skillet. And then I poured just a little of the bacon grease in the batter with the cornmeal and the egg and the buttermilk. I'm sure it was delicious. I couldn't taste a bite of it, but I'm sure it was delicious. And I opened a can of hominy. Do you like hominy? We like hominy. Not every day, but this morning, my daughter has gone to work, and I'm going to meet her at lunch at 11. And so she just wanted a sandwich, so I'm going to stop at the dollar store and get just some ham, packaged ham. And I had these little rolled cookies, I guess they're Pillsbury, I don't know. Don't they look good? I didn't make them. All you have to do is slice and bake them. I'm not into all that mess of cutting the butter in and, oh gosh. I don't know if I'll ever do that again. I've got a little container here full of them. I'm going to take her a couple of them to eat for lunch. Now, wasn't that exciting? So today, you know what we're going to have for lunch? Leftover cornbread, leftover potatoes, leftover pinto beans, and a tomato. And he can't hardly eat meat anymore, so we're just going to skip out on the meat. Do you know that I have been talking for 23 minutes? All right, I've got a funny story, and I've got 2 more little things I want to read you. I was trying to think of this. I wanted to say this the other day, and then it was like whenever I said the Lord's Prayer, and I messed up on the end of it as many times as I've said that. But you know, if you just say it when you've memorized it and don't stop and think, you can do okay. But I stopped, and at the end, I forgot kingdom there almost. The Serenity Prayer. How many times have I said this down through the years? If we would live by this, we wouldn't have all this worrying. You know, we were talking about, somebody was talking about worrying on one of the channels I watched yesterday. And I'll tell my girl, I'll say, I am really worried, but not real worried. You know, we use that word, but don't we just like to worry? And you can worry yourself into a swivet that you're just miserable, and then something may not even happen. Why do we do that? So I used to, at night when I was walking the floors, when my son was out, I would say, God, give me the grace to accept. Now this is not even like I like it. Let me see if I can say it. Grant me the grace to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's still not exactly, you know what I'm saying, the serenity prayer. I did a cross, was it a cross stitch? It was just a embroidery of that for my mom years ago. I'll try to think and get it out and show it to you. And she had it hanging in her family room where she could see it at all times. God, give me the grace. Give me the grace to accept the things. That's so powerful. If we would live by that, you know. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Wisdom. I thought this was a sweet saying. I see these things and I think, I've got to share these with these guys. Look at this. I've gone. Okay. All right. They ask, why is it important to be kind? I said, because we walk past hundreds of people every day, and none of them wear signs that say, I'm grieving, I'm exhausted, or I'm barely holding it together, but they're everywhere. Kindness might be the only softness they receive today. Softness might be the only softness they receive today. And I think everybody's doing better. I think sometimes we need to be reminded to be aware of being kind. Something I was looking at yesterday, again, I was thinking, well, with that, how many times have you got out of your car, walked into the grocery store, and people coming, like maybe one lady by herself coming out, and you just walk on your way? I have been trying to make a point to smile. How hard is that? And sometimes, I will say good morning. Have you ever noticed that the people in the United States, which it may be like this all over the world, I don't know, I think we are so stressed out, so worried about things that we cannot change, that we go around with this sad, solemn look on our face, and I am included in that because it's a habit. We just, I've got to get in here and get these groceries. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Think about it. Here's a letter from Grandma. She's writing her grandson. She said, Dear grandson, it's been a while since I saw you, and I must confess a few things have changed since then. I've become a bit of a social butterfly in my golden years. In fact, I'm seeing 5 gentlemen regularly now. Every morning starts with Will Power. Without him, I'd never make it out of bed. Then I have a visit with John, the porcelain kind. After that, Charlie Horse usually drops by. He tends to hang around a little too long and always makes his presence known. By midday, Arthur Ridus shows up and insists on taking me from joint to joint. Quite the tour guide, that one. By the end of the day, I'm so worn out that I collapse into bed with Ben Gay. He's the only one who knows how to soothe me. Oh, and I've been catching the eye of a new guy lately, Alzheimer. We're not serious yet, but he keeps making me forget what I was doing. Life sure is different now, but I'm keeping a sense of humor about it. Love always, Grandma. P.S. The preacher stopped by recently. He told me I should be thinking more about the hereafter. I told him I already do. Every time I walk into a room, I ask myself, now, what am I here after? Listen, go have a great day. I don't care if it rains. I'm just going to enjoy this day. I'm getting ready to get out and do a little running around and then coming back and probably take a nap. But thanks again for everybody subbing. And I just hope they will continue and we can continue to reach out and build this community of ones that we want just to be together and enjoy every day. So I'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.